The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. Tuesdays here. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark, and hope everyone's doing all right as we get our dancing shoes laced up. 489-1240, the number to get in. 800-825-5865. Can dial up. Toll free across the Hail Varsity Radio Network. Always email Chris at hailvarsity.com. Submit your comments, thoughts, questions, insights on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Give that a follow and a like, and also catch the show, the Hail Varsity Radio Twitter handle at HVarsityRadio. Elijah Herbel's the mustached one. Connor Clark is doing his Chicago Bulls tribute, or Nebraska basketball. Is that right?
It is.
Nebraska basketball love for one Connor Clark. I am wearing the neon yellow. Is what it is. It was clean. And if you're watching the stream, you can point and laugh. Let's get our roll call, our shout-outs. We always do this. The first five into the YouTube page, the Hail Varsity YouTube page, we shout out our starting five. Patrick is in, followed by Anonymous. KP300 says he's present. Brennan from the Black Hills says, afternoon, folks. Andrew in at 5. KG, which is much easier to read on air. We'll just say KG in at 6. NASCAR Eric checks in. Brandon says howdy. And your friend Osama Elijah says afternoon. No foot pick requests so far this Tuesday. Dion checks in. And good to hear from Dion as well. Tuck says what's up. And more comments as well. Crew asking if he's the 12th man today. Well played, Crew.
Too soon.
A little early, but well played. So we'll get to your comments, some thoughts, and some commentary from Pat McAfee. He is all in on Keisei Tominaga. Anonymous asks a fair question. When it comes to officiating, if Keisei gets grabbed and held and mugged all day without drawing any fouls, we will know that CBS and the NCAA is stupid by turning what could be a great show into just another steaming pile. Well, let me ask you this question before we get to the topic of garage sales, and stay with me because I hate garage sales. I hate doing them. I hate navigating around the neighborhood when they throw them. But this is one garage sale we'll tell you about that I would go to. So Blue Blood Bias is out with the question, who is America's team for March Madness? Well, with a bullet, number one, fellas, your Nebraska Cornhuskers, followed by St. Peter's. The Peacocks, they went and stunned a 2 seed not long ago before their coach took off to Seton Hall.
A controversial number 3, in my opinion.
Duke can't ever be America's team.
Well, yeah, they're so high.
You can be a Duke fan. I know a few of them. They're good dudes, but the only thing they take crap for in their life is the fact that they're Duke fans. Otherwise, they're pretty stand-up. 4, Washington State, Florida Atlantic, a surprise Final Four from a year ago. Kentucky, NC State. I don't mind that call. Oregon, love me some Dana. UConn at 9. I'll say this. You can love the fact that UConn, doesn't matter who's on their sideline the last 20 years, 25 years. 5 championships for UConn, fellas. But the goon coach in UConn now, Hurley, you just can't take. And listen, when they do some zoom-ins of him with the whiteboard or pumping his team up, I'm all for it, right? I mean, he gets eye contact. He connects with his kids. That's what you want. But it seems like every other weekend there's Dan Hurley trying to pick a fight with a student, or he's trying to get someone launched from Madison Square Garden. His act at CHI was a joke. But I just don't be hothead New Jersey guy.
But the thing with Dan Hurley is that we have to note, Schmidt, as we learned earlier today, his favorite band's Pearl Jam. And I feel like that's got to get him on your good side.
No.
No. For as much as you like Pearl Jam, you're not gonna have a little bit of respect for another Pearl Jam fan?
I am not, because he's just absolutely sandpaper around fans, and it's not a good situation when you're on the road losing. I get it. He hates losing. I respect that about him. But you don't lash out and take it out. There's been a million more coaches before him, right? I mean, think of, you guys weren't born, but I'll just say it. The old Big East. John Thompson, Jimmy Boeheim.
Oh, I watched the 30 for 30. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
I wasn't there, but I've educated myself.
No, that was every Saturday or Sunday afternoon. The Big East got 6 fouls. They had monsters in the paint. Ewing, Morning, Mutombo, Lawrence Moten, Billy Owens. I mean, they had dudes, and they would beat the hell out of one another. They were the only league in the country at the time that got 6 fouls. And occasionally, one of those 2 Hall of Fame coaches would get launched at the opposing place. John Thompson stomping through the Carrier Dome, or Jimmy Boeheim being paraded out when they would lose at Georgetown, if they would lose at Georgetown. But they never tried to go 3 rounds with a student section or a fan. I guess I'm expecting too much. Moving on, Arizona number 10, Jay Bird Erickson. He loves him, the Wildcats, every March Madness.
I was going to say,
is this a kiss of death for Nebraska to be America's team deemed by one Twitter handle?
Well, you and I were going to knock heads there for a second, because I'm actually kind of a fan of Dan Hurley. I don't know why.
Really?
I love watching him. I respect him a lot as a coach. I understand why people don't like him.
I have no problem with his coaching. I have no problem with the recruiting. I have no problem with his results.
He's entertaining.
You think he's entertaining?
I think he's entertaining.
I'm kind of with Connor in this one.
He's pretty entertaining. I love his person. Like, he's so fiery.
Say Hurley rolls to PBA, gets launched, and you students do what you do. UConn be coming in with a top 5 number. Yeah. You take him down, hypothetically, and he's wanting to swing on Connor Clark.
Well, I guarantee you he's not saying anything worse that's being said at him from said student section, but I understand that he's a professional and he needs to act like it. But I don't know. I've always kind of been a fan.
There needs to be somebody in all sports, not just college basketball. There needs to be somebody across all sports that everybody loves to hate.
So it's okay for him to be the villain.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. I think so. Plus, his team is the best team.
I'm not saying I like him. I'm not saying that I'd be happy if he came to Pinnacle Bank Arena and was coaching against Nebraska.
I'd love that.
But from the outside looking in, there's the entertainment value, which I think is important. Similar to Deion Sanders, and not in that way, but you understand that like it was important in college football last year to have somebody that everybody loved to hate. The villain. I think Deion Sanders was the villain of college football last year, and it took him to the top. It's important to have villains out there.
The month of September.
I just love, like, I've been dying at the video, the clip of Dan Hurley, and UConn's running stairs, and he's like, he kept screaming, national champions run everywhere. Nama Sanogo ran everywhere. And he just keeps going and going and going. He's such an entertaining figure in college basketball. I know he can be an a-hole, but that's kind of why I like him. But anyway,
could you play for him? Could either of you play for the guy?
I mean, I wouldn't
could
mind
I play college basketball at all? No.
If I was physically able to play college basketball and he called my phone, I would pick up. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you're not swaying me.
That's fine.
I'm not a Hurley guy. He wants to make it about him. And at some point, you got to grow up and walk away from the bar fight. The bar fight being what? Other adults that are barely adults in their early 20s.
I feel like you can make the same argument with Shaka Smart.
Yeah?
A lot of Big East fans do not like Shaka. They don't like the 6-man on defense.
You mean him being on the court all the time? Yeah. Get in line. Yeah, there's a lot of issues there. Let's tell you our lineup. Mitch Sherman going to be with us in 10 minutes. Andy Markowski, the pride of Ord. We'll get the former Husker standouts take on the men's and women's draws Friday. What's he think of the matchups? And then Matt Schick from Schick and Nick from ESPNU from Sirius XM. Schick had a chance to catch up with Coach Hoiberg today, so get his take on Nebraska and their potential tournament run, and also get his thoughts on Coach Rhule. 489-1240. So garage sale, yes or no? We've all unfortunately had to participate in them, and I'm sure I gave away thousands of dollars of baseball cards at one point. But how about Jim Harbaugh? Did you see this on social media? Harbaugh having a garage sale before they take off to L.A. to coach the Chargers. I mean, this is nuts.
It's the most Harbaugh thing ever.
It is, but what's funny is his house, it's not brick, and it's not, Ted Kaczynski wood cabin crazy, but it's a dark wooded kind of paneling / siding. Beautiful home, right? It looks like it was on an acreage. There's racks and racks of clothing, not all maize and blue.
Oh, I see the snow globes you were talking about.
There's a table of just snow globes. But the most Harbaugh thing ever. And
was it the rack of khakis?
No, well, there was
he's
a
bringing
rack.
those with him. Are you kidding me?
There's a rack of khakis there. But I loved this in the neighborhood where you had the basketball hoop on the garage, not the pole, not the adjustable, not the base you fill up with water just so your behemoth neighbor could break the rim. But Harbaugh put the hoop above the garage. It's attached to the garage.
I've gained a lot of respect for him.
And I'm sure it was measured perfectly for 10 feet. That screams the most Harbaugh thing to me ever. If you had to go to Jim Harbaugh's house and you were inspecting the joint due to a garage sale, I would put Harbaugh's an old school guy where the basketball hoop is on the garage. And you see homes like that. That was pretty cool. But
wouldn't be surprised if the hoop was at 9 feet to give himself an advantage.
Any sports treasures you guys have taken down from a garage sale?
No, I did find, while searching online, somebody who attended the garage sale found a great picture of Harbaugh that I'm going to try to get up here on this stream. It seems to be from his college years. That apparently it wasn't for sale, but it was hanging up and somebody saw it. I'm gonna pull this up. Give me a second. But apparently they had bags there, and anything you could fit in the bag they were letting you have for $20.
That's nice.
Good.
Now there's a lot of folks on Twitter saying, "Dude, just donate," and I get that. I understand helping folks out and sending to thrift stores and secondhand clothing, but Harbaugh, with his annuity, with his multi-millions made, Harbaugh's throwing a garage sale.
I mean, is he really going to sell out of everything that's
He
there?
might, dude. There's probably some crazed Michigan fans. I mean, put the shoe on the other foot. I mean, if T.O. had a garage sale,
True.
Nebraska fans would be in droves.
What if Scott Frost had a garage sale?
Don't know.
No
But
comment.
best thing I ever got from a garage sale was an original pair of Air Jordan 1s.
Wow.
I got a trombone one time.
See, you can keep the trombone.
Yeah.
My brother went collection agency on me and confiscated the Air Jordans.
How about this picture, though? You can see it on the stream.
Oh, no.
my goodness.
He's wearing leather. This
That
is
is
after the
a
NFL
beauty.
draft with the Bears.
So apparently this was hanging on the wall at Harbaugh's house.
Oh, dear Lord. He's got a little bit of a mullet going. He's got a white scarf. He's got acid wash jeans, and he's got the leather.
Oh, in some sort.
It screams 80s.
Would you call that business in the front, party in the back?
A little bit. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
probably.
almost a tribute to McMahon,
Yeah, kind of.
right? And I mean, he's got the stone jaw.
Yeah, he
Looks
does
like a
look
Family
like
Guy character.
Yeah, he does. Got the jaw of Quagmire.
He does. Giggity, giggity. It's $20 in the bag. So, yeah. The old
Would you rather be labeled a cheater or Quagmire? Take a vote.
I kind of respect it. $20, put it in the garage, do it now. But we'll see if there's any Michigan memorabilia. The one thing that isn't for sale, and it'd be funny if this mistakenly got sold for $5 or $20 or whatever it is, is the Bo Schembechler hat. It was Bo's old hat he would wear. That Michigan hat was his former coach's. So we'll dive in, get some thoughts here on Nebraska basketball, some reaction from Mitch Sherman. Busy week for us. Plenty of thoughts moving forward as we gear up for Nebraska A&M round 1 and 2. And Andy Markowski will have plenty of thoughts on that. But
we have some breaking news.
Okay, tell me.
Interim athletic director Dennis LeBlanc has announced a contract extension for Fred Hoiberg.
See, that is good.
Right.
It extends through the 28-29 season and will pay Fred Hoiberg $4.25 million.
Good for
per
Fred.
season.
Good for Fred getting bumped. So about a $700,000 raise?
Yeah, so this comes from a media release. Mike Sauter, I believe, first on the news, our friend with Hail Varsity. So we have that retweeted up with some of the contract information as well as a quote from Fred Hoiberg, which we can get into a little later in the show.
Yep, that is good. Good for the mayor.
Freddie.
Good for him getting his extension. You got to feel some love, and you're going to have a special session tomorrow with the Board of Regents, and priority candidates have been circled. And Jeff Golden, the name, chancellor right now at UNMC. Also Brian Sloan with the Chamber of Commerce in Lincoln. And both folks are the names that we're hearing. Golden, though, worked a long time with Trev and had a good relationship with Trev.
It's that time.
Hey, Mitch. Mitchie. We're looking for you, pal.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, talking Big Red.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Unleash the fury!
On Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. We welcome in Mitch Sherman with The Athletic. And Mitch, on point with the news, tweeting out Fred Hoiberg's contract extension. Can find Mitch on Twitter at Mitch Sherman. Mitch, what do you think of the number here? You look at Fred Hoiberg, extended 2 years through 2029, given $1 million annual raise to 4.25. And, well, Dennis LeBlanc, the interim AD, pulling the trigger on it. That's got to make Nebraska basketball fans feel pretty good. It's got to make Fred feel good heading into Friday.
Yes, big news on a Tuesday afternoon ahead of the NCAA tournament. I would say that this was well timed for Nebraska. I just had some conversations today, wondering with people that I talked to about what could happen and how Nebraska's disheveled leadership with an interim AD and an interim system president could potentially leave an opening for another school to make a run at Fred Hoiberg. And clearly Nebraska was aware of that and ready for the possibility and prepared to make certain that did not happen before the season is over. So kudos to Dennis LeBlanc in a joint announcement with Chris Kuburik, the interim system president. They took care of that before the Huskers are off to Memphis to play Texas A&M on Friday night.
Mitch, is the timing of this a surprise to you?
Well, it's not a surprise to me that Nebraska attempted to do this, that Nebraska wanted to lock up Fred. Things move fast in the coaching carousel, whether it's football or basketball. And while Nebraska's been involved in the football coaching carousel quite often in recent years, it's not been as common in basketball. There have been some coaches that needed to be hired, and I guess that's the case with what we've seen in football too. But we're more familiar with these processes in football in the state of Nebraska. If you sit on this and you're Nebraska and you wait and you delay potentially going and talking to Hoiberg, all you're doing is leaving the door open. So I'm not surprised that Nebraska acted as swiftly as it did. This tells you that Hoiberg didn't need much to think about, that he was ready to re-up with Nebraska, make this kind of a commitment, and do it now before he heard from anyone potentially out there who is interested in a coach who went from 7 wins 3 years ago to 23 and the first round of the NCAA tournament here in the 2023-24 season.
Mitch, this is more than just, all right, you broke through, you got to the tournament, wonderful. This is about next year and beyond, clearly, where you got to make the guy feel welcome. And we talked not long ago about the fact that you had to take a pay cut if you're Fred Hoiberg, where that right. Probably jolted you. So if there were any ill feelings or frustrations from that moment 3 years ago, you got to feel hopefully smoothed over and made whole now.
Yeah, I think this erases any questions about whether there was residual from that. And, he handled that like a pro, both in the way that he got back to work and not complaining about it publicly or really giving anyone any reason to think that he had a problem. It's not fun, no matter how much you make and what line of work you're in, to get your pay cut. But, we saw what he did, and it was just continue to improve the Nebraska basketball program and reinvent the way that he went about building a roster and building a team and putting a contender on the floor. So he's earned this, and that pay cut that he received a couple of years ago is now long forgotten.
Mitch Sherman is with us on Hail Varsity Radio. And Mitch, fast forwarding to Friday, your initial reaction of the matchup, a team in Texas A&M that has won 7 Quad 1 games but has lost 4 Quad 3 games. I know metrics aren't everything, but a really puzzling resume, and obviously rebounding is going to be the big question mark.
Right, they're not a big, tall, dominant kind of physical team like some that Nebraska's seen in the Big Ten. But they're athletic, and they have strong guard play, and they get after the offensive glass, and, they have some physical play underneath, even if those players, are not 7 feet tall. I think Nebraska, with the road that it traveled in the Big Ten, is equipped to go against really any type of basketball team. Now, you match Nebraska up against Houston or UConn, and it's going to be a mismatch, but it's not because the Huskers didn't see various kinds of play in the Big Ten. I mean, you had teams that like to run and not play as much defense and score a ton of points and shoot, like Iowa. You have teams that are somewhat multiple in the way that they attack you, like Wisconsin. Obviously, Purdue comes at you with a 7'4" center who's the 2-time National Player of the Year that really no other program out there that you could find in the NCAA tournament is going to duplicate. So I don't think Texas A&M is going to throw at Nebraska a type of basketball that it didn't see somewhere along the road in the Big Ten. Now, is it the most well-suited matchup for Nebraska? That's hard to say. Nebraska had varied success against different types of teams in the Big Ten, and you can say, look at Illinois. I'm not sure exactly which team in the Big Ten Texas A&M is most like, but I think because of the various things, the multiplicity of the Nebraska approach offensively and defensively, with the right game plan, it can find a way to stack itself up well against a team that's had similar success through the season as the Huskers did. You start to put them in a second-round matchup against a team like Houston, as I said, and then it becomes about more than the matchup.
Mitch, as you look at the matchup itself, I want you to step back. What about Nebraska should scare Texas A&M the most? If you're a Texas A&M reporter, what about Nebraska scares you the most? And then to flip it around, what about Texas A&M scares you the most? There's a couple things I think that can worry you with Taylor, with the offensive rebounding, but what scares you the most there?
Yeah, I think it's the offensive rebounding. To answer the second part of your question first, Elijah, I know there's some metrics out there that indicate Texas A&M is one of the better offensive rebounding teams in the country. And when I've seen Nebraska get out of rhythm and struggle to put things together on the offensive side, oftentimes that started because it's giving up second chance points on the other end of the court. And Nebraska needs to get into a flow where it's getting stops, forcing misses, rebounding, getting out and running, shooting in transition, and that gets me to the first part of your question with what scares me most if I'm Texas A&M looking at Nebraska. And I think every scouting report on Nebraska over the last several months and going into the tournament starts with Keisei Tominaga. And you heard Mike Woodson talk about it in Minneapolis, and you heard Brad Underwood talk about it. And if Keisei can get loose and get hot, then there isn't a lot that teams can do. Now, there's, I'm sure, some incredible defenders out there that Nebraska could come across this month in the tournament, starting on Friday. But, he has this unique ability to shoot when he doesn't have much space and to just do things that kind of defy what's normal for a player of his size and athleticism. So I think the scouting report starts there, and it's scary because a lot of times, as we saw, especially with Indiana was a perfect example the other night, you can do everything right against him and still get beat by Keisei. And then you go from there, and it's more traditional matchups. I mean, Juwan Gary, Bryce Williams are traditional types of matchups that Texas A&M players, the types of players that Texas A&M is going to see in the SEC. They're talented and they can hurt you, but they're not going to be a shock with the way that they play for the Aggies. Rink Mast is another one that presents a difficult matchup and can be kind of unique because he's a big guy who can go outside and shoot the three.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic. Mitch, let's talk football. Matt Rhule's presser yesterday calmed the waters, hit the right notes. It's going to be okay, and I'm here to help fix things, the gist of it. But talk to me a little bit here about Matt Rhule, the influencer, not just with the Nebraska fan base, but also, his voice of reason here as Nebraska moves towards a new AD.
Yeah, he is the face of Nebraska athletics right now. Without a permanent AD in that seat, Matt Rhule, his sway and his pull, he's ascended to a level that we've not seen for a while at Nebraska with a football coach. And yesterday he delivered a message that was along those lines. I think he spoke for all of the coaches, or many of the coaches within the athletic department, and breathing confidence, trying to breathe confidence into the people of Nebraska and the fans of Nebraska sports about the Huskers' ability, multiple Husker teams' ability to move forward without Trev Alberts. Trev has been running this thing for close to 3 years, and people have grown comfortable with him in that chair and as the face of Nebraska athletics. And so it's a jolt to see him leave, especially in the way that he left, which was just so quick and unexpected. So somebody had to fill that vacuum and as I said, again, provide some kind of confidence and comfort. And that's what Matt Rhule did. And part of the way that he did it was to speak about what he sees in the athletic department and that it's a good place with good things happening. And then he also talked about his own plans for the future and how he fully intends to be at Nebraska and loves it in Lincoln. He gave some specific examples of why, and he laid out, what he expects, what he hopes that Nebraska will do in looking for a new leader for the department. So I think he hit all the right notes. He touched on the things that were important for people to hear. And, the next step is to go out and move forward. And whether that's a short-term thing or Nebraska has an interim for a while. I mean, I think there's a path where Nebraska may have an interim athletic director for a while. And that's going to be largely dependent on what happens this week with the presidency. If they're bringing in a priority candidate from the outside, and I mean outside of the system right now, somebody who's not in that chair, it stands to reason that next president is probably best positioned to be the one to choose the permanent athletic director. So that's at least 30 days away from tomorrow when a president could even begin to think about taking that spot. And it may take a little time after that to find an AD. So as we saw today, Dennis LeBlanc is well suited to fill this seat, and provide some stability for Nebraska in its athletic department, and he can do that into the deeper into the spring if needed.
Mitch, hang tight up against a tight break. I need 2 minutes on the other side, okay?
All right, sounds good.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
A little bit of overtime with Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, thanks again for your extra time. I wanted to ask you about the presidency priority candidate tomorrow and special session. And Jeff Golden's one of the names we're hearing, and our news is reported. And, of course, Chancellor UNMC, a long time at UNO. The task of Nebraska getting back into the AAU, they're the only Big Ten team that's not in the AAU. That's got to be a big-time number on the to-do list for Nebraska, and also, yes, get football right. But can you educate me a little bit here on AAU as far as getting back into it? I mean, what's it all about? Is it research dollars and standing in that realm, that world?
Yeah, I don't know how much I can educate you on it. I've talked to Chris Kabork about it, and it's been a priority of his, the interim University of Nebraska system president, since he took that seat from the departed Ted Carter. He departed to Ohio State on January 1st. Kabork has been working with UNMC to align some things with UNL so that Nebraska's flagship campus can get credit for some of the research dollars that are or the research that is being done at UNMC. Basically, it's a matter for Nebraska, the Lincoln campus, and the system of classifying some things differently than it has in recent years, so that the campus is viewed in the same light that many of the other campus systems are viewed around the Big Ten. Now, there's an obvious difference in the state of Nebraska in that the Med Center is in Omaha and the flagship campus is in Lincoln, but they are under the same leadership, obviously, and there's a thought within the Nebraska system that the university should not be penalized because there is a 50-mile difference. There's a 50-mile geographical difference between the two campuses. It remains to be seen if that bridge can be gapped. If it can, and Nebraska can do some things to combine the way that various numbers and research amounts are classified, then it stands a much better chance to be able to regain membership in the AAU. And the AAU is a prestige thing. It also allows for a university to receive additional grants and research dollars and be eligible for perks that Nebraska would like to benefit from. So I don't know how well I explained it as a sports guy here, but that's the gist of it. As I understand, I don't think I believe it's an attainable goal, and I believe it's something that Nebraska is now prioritizing. And it certainly would be good for Nebraska's long-term standing in the Big Ten, because it is the only school in the Big Ten that is not a member of the AAU. That it was stripped of that status shortly after Nebraska joined the Big Ten back in 2011.
It should be noted, I don't have much to add to this aside from the fact that there has never been an AAU school that lost membership and was ever invited back. So Nebraska's looking to change it. That's only 5 schools, Nebraska being one of those 5, but they've never been invited back.
How the hell do you lose membership if you've been in it? I just not doing enough research and dollars. And go ahead.
Again, I think it's about the distinction between UNL and UNMC.
Gotcha.
And it's not as if Nebraska is trying to start a new medical program and mold that, mesh that into UNL. This is obviously an extremely respected research institution in Omaha. It's primarily about the way that campus is viewed separately from UNL, where you go to Minnesota, you go to Wisconsin, you go to Ohio State, and those medical schools are part of the campuses part of the institutions in Minneapolis, Madison, Columbus, and it's different in the state of Nebraska, but it's not a different university. So Nebraska's trying to make sure that they're viewed as one and the same.
Mitch, would you go to a Jim Harbaugh garage sale before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I just had to look that up when you mentioned that to me before I came back on, and I'm looking at some pictures here. It looks like out in the driveway in Ann Arbor, they've got some clothing racks.
Snow globes, brother.
Yeah, I mean, there's some paintings. Are these Jim's items? Jim and his wife and their family.
Yeah.
They got like some old comic books in a like. Is it like a buy one? Is this the kind of garage sale where you can go on Saturday and everything's $1? I'd like to see the bargain shoppers out there. I also don't see a whole lot of maize and blue in the photo I'm looking. There's like a sewing machine there.
It's $20. You can fill a bag. I think that's the rate.
Buy some of Jim's old shirts.
How about the old driveway basketball hoop above the garage? Everything's on a pole now with cement or those adjustable bases. I mean, he's got old school.
At all.
No, I know, but that's cool.
In fact, I'd be surprised if it wasn't there. He's very old school in that way, and I actually admire that and respect that. You know, he's not bowing to the pressures of the 21st century. Like Harbaugh is going to do it his way, and that's cool. And it's been very good for him. I'm wondering, like, so I'm getting more into this as I look at the picture. Is he trying to scrape up like a couple $100 so they can, go on like a vacation to the beach and get a nice meal or what? What's going on? I mean, cost of living in San Diego is exorbitant. So
price of milk's expensive now, Mitch. I mean,
yeah.
No, I think it's just I don't want to haul all this crap to California. Take it, please.
Who's putting the garage sale on? Is he standing out there? I would like to see him out there.
Apparently, from the boots on the ground, he made a brief appearance, but for the most part, he was not running the show.
Oh, I like the house.
There's a picture, too. There's a picture of him after he got drafted by the Bears. Acid washed Guess jeans, black leather zip-up coat, and a white scarf, and he's got the 80s mullet going.
You could find some gems in there. The khakis, I'm assuming in this photo, are not real. Those are not. He's not actually selling his khakis that he wears during games. There's a gallon of milk. That's not real. There's no way that's real either. No one sells a gallon of milk
Vitamin D,
at a garage sale.
Vitamin D.
You know what I bet he's got a killer. I bet he's got a killer vinyl collection. Now, would that be for sale? I don't know, but he's the type of guy
it's all
hundreds of vinyls.
It's all Hurley and a lot.
Already halfway to LA.
Yeah.
I think he does this stuff. Oh, yeah, LA. They don't. The Chargers don't play in San Diego. What am I talking about? But
right.
I think he does this stuff just to stay in the collective awareness of people, because he has a reputation to uphold. I mean, he can't go sleep over at the house of a recruit when he's the coach in the NFL. It's a little more buttoned up, like the lifestyle of a coach in the NFL. There's no recruiting. There's no NIL. He's not going to be able to send spies to the sidelines of his opponents and dress them in the colors of who knows what team. I mean, the helmet communications in the NFL are going to kind of make some of his strategies obsolete. So he just has to stay. He's got to stay in the awareness. He needs to be that Jim Harbaugh that we know and love, or know and hate, depending on your perspective. So having a garage sale is a remarkable way to accomplish that.
Mitch, we'll check in soon. Thanks for the time today, bud.
Okay, thanks.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
More comments in the stream we'll get to here in the 5 o'clock hour. Andy Markowski, Matt Schick. Big thanks to Mitch Sherman, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. America's team, yay or nay, as Nebraska deserved to be number one with America's team ranking. They are 1, St. Peter's 2, Duke in at 3.
The thing to me is, in order to be America's team, you have to win the first game. And I'm not ready to put
it's
the
that
cart before the horse.
Northwestern feel.
Yes.
From when was that?
2017.
2017 says our
should have beat Gonzaga.
But there are so many factors that Nebraska, should they win their first game, especially with the number 1 seed Houston on the way, that's even like added. Nobody roots for Walmart, you know? Nobody wants to root for a 1 seed. If you have a great story in Nebraska, it's their first tournament win. I mean, we had Pat McAfee, we'll hear this in a second, talk about K-State this morning.
Yeah.
Like, that's big. You have the K-State factor. You have the never won a tournament game factor. If you win the first one.
You have the Fred factor.
Well,
folks love Fred.
And if you win the first one, you have a chance to go take down the number 1 seed in Houston.
Let's be honest, Houston sucks to watch.
Yeah.
Their athleticism and talent and defensive intensities.
If you like grinded out basketball.
Right, but listen, you put up with grinded out basketball. They take it to a whole new level where they score 48 points and
still win by 10.
and go Python on you. Let's hear from McAfee as he is all in on Keisei Tominaga.
Oh, there we go.
I opened my phone, and this man named Josh, what was his name?
Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds put out a tweet from SB Nation, and he said, just wait, folks. Just wait. Friday, 6/20, Nebraska will be playing their first game in the NCAA tournament, and they have a player named Keisei Tominaga, who they are calling the Japanese Steph Curry.
Yes.
And I have no idea how we have gotten this far into the men's college basketball season without knowing this human exists.
Casual fan.
Casual fan going into overdrive with Keisei Love.
What we're saying is, you haven't even seen him play basketball, right? You just heard that interview he just gave? You could feel the energy radiating through the interview.
Oh, yeah.
I just love basketball.
Yeah.
I just love basketball. Doesn't do a lot of talking. Doesn't do a lot of media interviews. We should know about this guy already.
100%.
The fact that we don't is on us. But look at this guy play hoops. Look at these highlights. It's not just like simple plays.
No.
We're not running spin, cross, back down, step back, splash in eyeball. We're talking real electricity every time. Step back.
That's
NBA.
Jack. Ooh. Bucket.
He said, when I make the first one, it feels like I'm going to make the next one. That hoop starts looking like this for Keisei Tominaga, who doesn't even step back, corner, face, bop, bucket,
man,
splash. How you? You think I'm only shooting? No.
Runner.
Scoopty, lefty, layup. Big rebound, guys on the boards wearing a sick headband. You leave them open for three, or you get stupid. It's done.
Automatic.
So it's about to be the Keisei Tominaga show. And Josh Reynolds is 100% right. At 6:20 on Friday, this Nebraska team tips off. If Keisei does any of this if he does any of it, if he hits any of those step backs,
got him.
The big looping thing, you're going to hear every human go, Domo Ragato Tominaga. We are in on the Japanese Steph Curry.
Boom. There's your first national salvo of Keisei Love. And this snowball is going to roll and roll and roll and roll and then come barreling downhill for 6 o'clock, 5:50 tip.
One thing about Keisei, or about Pat McAfee, is every time we play him on the show, I always have a sense of doom that there's going to be a cuss word.
I know. Did I miss one?
But we got it.
Did we miss one? Andy Markowski on the way, hour 2 with Hail Varsity.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back with you, it's hour 2. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark. We talk more Nebraska basketball, men's and women's. The double dip against A&M. We bring in the pride of Ord, Husker basketball standout, Andy Markowski, proud papa, of course, with Alexis and the Husker women, the 6th seed in Corvallis. As we were talking, the Harbaugh garage sale, that is a very real thing. Brandon chimes in on the stream. We need a Trev yard sale. It would be a fire sale. So there's still some Trev venom out there. Always a kind and big-time gentleman, Andy Markowski, with us. Andy, are you geared up, my friend, for Friday? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Super excited. Trying to navigate my way to Corvallis, which is not an easy place to get to.
So are you flying into Portland, or are you going to Vegas, then Portland? How is the Markowski roadie mapped out here?
I'm stopping in Vegas. I'm putting it all on Nebraska men to win it all, and then we're going to fly into Portland and then drive down to Corvallis. So does that sound like a road trip?
Are you doing a SUV or minivan?
So, super excited. We're going to do Portland.
You got a minivan, didn't you?
No,
RV?
No minivan. I'm too tall for a minivan. Got to go SUV.
Okay. Well, good for you. Lots to get to. Reaction to the Hoiberg raise.
Yeah, I think you've got to stabilize Fred's contract. I think he's proven that he's pushing the right buttons. You look at the back half of last year, and then certainly the season that he's had this year, and certainly the coaching scale has moved up, and I think it's smart and probably deserving for Fred and the staff to get that based on a great season.
Would you have been worried about someone coming to get him after the season?
I don't. I think Fred has spoke to being comfortable, and I think he's in the community, and his son's in the program, and there's a lot of things that I think has stabilized Fred that wants to coach here in the Midwest and be in Lincoln and be a part of the Big Ten. So no, I don't think there was risk there, but I think you want to reward your coaches. Mm-hmm. When they perform and make sure they're at a level that, puts them in, kind of the spot that they need to be in the national rank of coaches.
And Andy, with that in mind, Fred Hoiberg, with this raise, according to the salaries at the start of this season, would become the 7th highest paid basketball coach in America next season. He'd be right there with Brad Underwood, Fred making $4.25. According to public records, Brad Underwood making $4.2 million this season. So right there. Does that sound about right? Number 7 paid in the country and right there with Brad Underwood?
Well, I think you have to look at, he came in on the high side, right? I mean, Fred was coveted when we signed him 5 years ago. So, I think his scale probably started high based on performance, right? I mean, putting him as 7th is probably higher than what he has performed. But I also think you have to reward, coaches when they've accomplished things that haven't been done in a while, right? We've never played in the semis of the Big Ten, and certainly being an 8 seed and potentially winning that first game. I think he deserved a raise and an extension. I mean, you can argue the rank. 7th will become 15th next year, right, when the next guys start to get their increases. So I think he's done a good job. I think they've managed the portal, and the true test will be, can they add to the team for the following year, because they do lose a little bit this year, and I'm confident they'll add a couple pieces, and we'll have a team next year to be excited about.
And to your point, Andy, not to cut you off, Connor, I'll let you get here in a second. Not a question,
Can't believe you.
Sorry, Fred was top 15, if I remember correctly, when he was hired. He has now dropped out of the top 25 highest paid coaches in America, so top 10 might not last that long with how inflation works and how coaching salaries explode. But Connor, take it over, please.
Well, Andy, is somebody who's been in the program, around the program for years, and to see Fred turn it around from 2 straight seasons of 7 wins and seeing their name get called for just the 3rd time since 1998. For you as a former player, what's that like for you to see that happen and to see all these firsts get accomplished in what's really been a magical season?
Yeah, I live in Lincoln, right? So I'm still very, very close to the program, and super. Was disappointed to see such a lull, right? To only have 3 tournaments in 25 years. But the teams that accomplish a lot and are fun to watch. I mean, this group, regardless if they won 20 games, 25 games, or 15 games, this is a team that I think you can get behind just on how unselfish they are and how they enjoy each other. And, the competitiveness of the group, and I have more pride in that than probably the amount of wins that they had. Just at the program that, or a team that you can root for, and I think it represents what Nebraska wants their athletic programs to be. So, I want to see a team win the first game. We were that '98 group, right? Had a chance to beat Arkansas, and little did we know, 25 years later, we'd still be having the same conversation that we haven't won a game. So, hopefully the program can get over that hump and then keep building on the momentum that they have over the last year and a half.
Eddie, let's look to the matchup. What do you like about Nebraska? The men start with Hoiberg and company, and then we'll shift over to Corvallis as just an incredible game against Iowa. Nebraska's had a little time off. What can Coach Williams and the women get accomplished a couple hours later in Corvallis? Let's look at both these showdowns.
Yeah, I like the men's draw. I think there's two style of teams that have bothered us. The teams that can really spread us and shoot it at 5 spots. You look at like a Creighton that really just skill wise, or the team that doesn't shoot it great but really rebounds it well. And A&M fits in that category. But I do think the back half of the year we have been able to rebound. A&M's not. Great defensively. I think it's a team that we will be able to score against and find shots against. And then, certainly if you're fortunate to win there, Houston plays at a really slow pace. They don't shoot it very well. It's both games. If we can find offense and certainly make jump shots like we've proven that we can do at times, and then you look at the second half of Illinois or the second half of Rutgers, when all of a sudden we start missing shots, we can become pretty average. But A&M's got a really good guard, and then from there they throw it up and go get it and put it in. So I think we can do a good job on Taylor, and then it comes down to whether or not we can either be neutral or stay in the game rebounding. If we do that, I think we'll get that first win.
On the women's side, there it is.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you about the women. Go ahead, take it over.
Yeah. But to be honest, the women are pretty similar. A&M is really big, 6'4", 6'5" along the front line. One of their posts was with Alexis USA Basketball this summer. So really talented, long. They're very athletic. They don't pressure in the full court, which is good for us. I don't think Nebraska does great with teams that get out and extend and guard you at 90 feet. They rebound it well, but it's a team that if we can figure out a way to neutralize the inside, do a good job on the backboard, I like Nebraska women's chances to win, but there's not a big gap between 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in women's basketball. All those teams are pretty equal, and they'll have to take care of the basketball, rebound, and play a good game. And Corvallis will be a tough atmosphere if you're fortunate to win and move on to play Oregon State. That'll be a tough game, but certainly a 3 is a lot better than lining up and playing South Carolina the next day of an 8-9 game. So, I do like to draw that way.
Andy Markowski is with us on Hail Varsity Radio. And going back to the men's matchup real quick, Andy, the SEC has been very tough, very physical. You got Buzz Williams on the other side. We talk about the rebounding numbers for A&M this year, especially offensively. How will Juwan Gary play a factor in this game for the men's side? Because he's had SEC experience. He's been to the Sweet 16 with Alabama. How do you expect him to impact the game on Friday?
Yeah, I think Juwan, certainly the Illinois game getting in foul trouble hurts us, right? I think athletically, defensively, he's one of a few players we have that actually can, drive the basketball to the rim and finish through traffic. I think Brett Williams is the other one that can do that against, really good defensive teams. But yeah, he's going to have to rebound. He's going to have to be athletic, and I think that's true of the whole front line. I think Alec is going to have to rebound. I think Mass is going to have to, figure out a way to come out of there with some rebounds. But, Gary at the 3, and Williams at the 1 gives us really good positional length that I think will set us up well to handle a physical SEC game. Now, I don't think the NCAA tournament is as physical early on. The referees are trying to move to the next round. They get evaluated. So I get concerned with post depth. We got to keep Mass out of foul trouble. I think that Illinois game, hurt when he went to the bench with 2 fouls. Playing Alec at the 5, we're not as big. Alec is not as skilled and versatile offensively. So I get concerned with our front line, making sure they stay out of foul trouble in the NCAA tournament. I think that'll be a big key for Nebraska.
And one of the interesting things about how Texas A&M likes to do their offensive rebounding, I've done some film study here. I'm no expert, but it seems to me they like to put one, sometimes even two guys in the dunker spot, almost encouraging the help defense on drives, knowing it's going to free up their offensive rebounders to get an extra possession. You being somebody who understands basketball a lot better than me, is there any counter to that with as much as Texas A&M likes getting to the rim?
Well, the counter is how we play defense, right? I mean, we're very help-oriented. We are going to overhelp. We're going to trap the post. So, even if they're in the dunker spot, we're going to have, pretty much three players along the baseline, and we zone the backside. So a lot of times we don't even, guard players on the backside. We're waiting for them to throw it out, and then they extra cover, which goes back to my first point on the teams that have hurt us are the teams that can really shoot it. So when the backside gets it, they just make open threes. A&M's not going to do that. So I like our chances to keep multiple people in the lane, keep people in front of us, and then you got to go rebound with numbers. Just because A&M does throw pretty athletic 3, 4, and 5 at you, but the dunker spot is great when you give up a bunch of penetration, and Nebraska for the most part does a good job of controlling penetration and making teams take jump shots.
Andy, what's the Andy Markowski bracket look like? And do you have a Final Four picked?
Well, hopefully they don't have me on record for last year because I think I took Arizona to win it all.
We burnt that tape.
I'm gonna double down. I think the East is really tough. I think that's the toughest region. So I have UConn losing. I have Auburn coming through there. I have Arizona beating Auburn. I think Kentucky, I know defensively and Kim Palm and all the numbers tell you that you can't take a bad defensive team, but I think the South is so offensive challenged. I think Kentucky will come through there, but I'm going Big Ten. I'm going Purdue. I think they've learned a little lot from last year. They're playing a little faster. They've added a couple pieces from last year's group. So I have Purdue beating Arizona, and I'm not very good at this. So hopefully maybe one of these years I can get lucky and pick at least 3 out of the 4 Final Four and really get lucky if Purdue happens to win it. But I'd be happy for Matt Painter, and I think it's more open than what people think. But I do still feel like there's some good teams like Purdue that have a chance to march through the bracket and get to the Final Four.
Well, Andy, I will say, if you want to go on the record, I can get you a link to the Hail Varsity Radio Bracket Challenge. Got a lot of fans in there. Chris and myself are in there. Connor, are you in just yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, but we're bringing in some of our favorite guests.
Will be before Thursday.
You qualify as a favorite guest, Andy, if you'd like to join the Hail Varsity Radio Bracket Challenge.
There's no cover.
I will do that. I'm a one bracket guy, so I'll pick my bracket. I'll disperse it into the different contests. So, I will do that. That way, I'm on record. And like I said, I lose my expertise status when people start seeing how bad I am at picking these games. So.
Last 2 years, man, don't worry about it. Interesting tweet out there from a basketball Blue Bloods account. Andy, what do you think? Could Nebraska be America's team? Their Cinderella, their darling this tournament.
Every tournament takes on its own storyline, so it's hard to predict that. But, I think it's a likable team. I think it proved that in the Big Ten tournament, right, where people just started to jump on and really root. And K-State is it's certainly a unique player. He's a unique personality and has drawn some interest. And, you throw the storyline in there that they've never won or we've never won an NCAA tournament game. You're going to play the villain, potentially Houston. If you do win, so I think a lot of things add up that people would get behind and have a chance to root for. So I'm hoping it's more than one and done, but we will see.
Couple of Sweet 16 runs for the men and women. That'd be awesome. Andy Markowski, standout Husker, part of that '98 tournament team. Pride of Ord, and of course his great daughter Alexis doing wonderful things for the Big Red women in Corvallis. Andy, enjoy your trip with your fam and those memories. Thanks for a few minutes today.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Andy Markowski, the Pride of Ord, at Markowski_Andy, where you can follow along with him on Twitter. And you know what? A&M, twice the fun. for Nebraska to make a statement.
Still can't believe that's like a thing. The double dip.
It is. Some funny involved there with the committee. We'll talk committee. We'll talk football. Matt Schick, ESPN, Sirius XM, Schick and Nick next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We welcome in with ESPNU, Sirius XM, and yes, the Schick and Nick podcast. Matt Schick with us on delivery. Is that correct?
Yes, it's very correct. I was at home ready to settle up and just have a phone conversation in my recliner, otherwise known as my desk chair, with you, and then I get a text from my wife saying, hey, Tate, my 11-year-old daughter, she's at softball practice. I just dropped her off. One of her cleats is missing. Can you check your car for the missing cleat? I have the missing cleat. I'm like Kevin Costner in The Postman delivering this mail.
Never saw The Postman, but good on you for the reference.
I would not recommend it. It was a long movie, but I'm delivering said cleat to an irresponsible child. That's redundant, irresponsible child. I'm sorry about that.
What's the Schick brand fave? Is it Nike, Adidas, Under Armour? What do you go with?
It is whatever is under $35, and today it is Nike. It is a pink Nike. We do have Under Armour at home. I do the Under Armour All-America game, so I feel like I'm kind of, I side with UA a little bit, but it's really what fits the budget, not necessarily their feet.
Well, there's the story of Yao Ming. That poor guy, for most of his teenage career, had shoes a size and a half too small. But I get the budget take as a traveling baseball dad once upon a time. So, Schick, it's been a week back here in Nebraska, and a lot to peel away. I want to get your reaction not only to Trev's departure, but how do you think Trev moved during the Aggie sway yesterday with the introductory press conference?
I, as someone who covered the Dana Altman news conference live in Fayetteville, because I was there, as I watched Dana Altman do pig suey, I had very similar vibes to watching it. Like, oh, we're doing this now? This is what we're doing? Okay. He dropped the R.C. Slocum in the news conference. I'm not sure he was ready for the sway. But it was interesting to watch. I would say this. Here's my recommendation for anyone who takes a new job in athletics. Don't tweet anything or retweet anything about your new employer for like 2 weeks. Just give people some time to digest it, to go through the mourning process. It's like if you're with you're dating somebody, you break up, and the next night or next day, you change your relationship to in a relationship with this person with new pictures, new this, new that. It's like, wait, we're not ready yet. We just had this. So, I like Trev a lot. I would just advise that you don't need to retweet everything Aggies within 2 minutes of signing your contract. That would be my advice.
The feedback from Nebraska fans on social media, very venomous, as you'd imagine. It's not often one of your own takes off, and it's not for a college football czar or a commissioner or a college football playoff chair, but it's for A&M. And there's a little bad taste in the mouth with Bill Byrne leaving for A&M. Some were happy to see him go, but Bill did a good job. And then, of course, Rob Childress taken off to A&M.
Yeah.
Now this is the trifecta, so to speak, but never been down to College Station. But it is different. Fair to say you've had colleagues that have been down there and covered him. Is A&M an acquired taste to those outside of the Texas region?
Well, if you've met John Oakey, then I can attest to you. It's an acquired taste, okay? Like John Oakey, friend of mine, Channel 7, Omaha, now doing his own thing. You know, John Oakey's not for everybody, okay? He went to Texas A&M. Of course I kid. He's one of life's greatest people. But it is different. There's no question that it is different. It's I have never been down there. I've never seen a game down there, so everything I say is just about what you hear. But yeah, it's an acquired taste. It's not. I hate to use the word cultish because aren't all athletic departments and fan bases cultish in some way, but it's just different. You know, the Aggies are different, but they care a lot. They're all in this together. The 12th man, they want to win. Everyone wants to win. Now they're in the SEC. It's a different animal for sure. So I don't know. The different reasons for leaving are certainly probably things that hopefully will get uncovered over time, but it's not anything that I could shed too much light on, just things that you read.
Matt Schick with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, talking a little bit of Trev Alberts to Texas A&M. And Matt, Selection Sunday paired Nebraska and Texas A&M. Obviously, that story has made the rounds. It's well known around here. I want to get your thoughts. So, you used the dating comparison earlier for Trev Alberts being active on Twitter immediately following his departure from Nebraska. In the dating world, what is Nebraska, Texas A&M? What is that comparison to the dating world?
I don't know. This would be like they just broke up. And now they're at like a group dinner date together, and they've been paired up. Like they have to attend a wedding together after they just broke up, and they're at the same table. Like, wait a second, this is not what's appropriate. This is not appropriate at all. I actually talked to Fred Hoiberg today, like 10 minutes before we came on the air, because we were doing an interview for SiriusXM. And I asked about just, you try to think of a different way to ask the question. Like, hey, what have you talked to your team about to get them to avoid the distraction from guys like us, the media, asking questions, this and that. And, he's like, hey, I've talked to the team and said, hey, we're, like Rink Mash said, we're not playing the athletic director, we're playing the Aggies, we're playing the basketball team. But Fred did say, he remarked about how it's pretty clear the NCAA selection committee likes storyline. So I don't think, you heard Trev talk about it 2 days ago as well. This isn't something that's just by accident. This is Barry Collier, Jamie Pollard, and Greg Byrne having a good time at the Huskers expense on the NCAA selection committee. So it is what it is. But when people were saying to me, hey, this is terrible timing for Trev, he's taking all the distraction. Now it's going to be all about him instead of this Nebraska basketball team. I said, no, it's not. This will be a 48-hour story when he leaves, and then that's it. The team is going to prepare for the team, and we'll all be focused on that eventually. Well, that was not factoring in the NCAA selection committee pairing A&M with Nebraska on both sides. So, you just can't get away from it, and you can't avoid the distraction, can't avoid the talk, and it's really unfortunate, but once they tip off, at the under 8 timeout, I don't think Fred Hoiberg is going to be talking about Trev Alberts.
What's the level of annoyance you could glean from Fred and Fred stand up? I mean, his NCAA selection presser, and he said all the right things. He said all the right things about Trev. So he knows they got a game to win. So does Coach Williams for the Nebraska women. So they're not really paying attention to it. It's out there for the rest of us, like you said. But is there an annoyance that you gleaned at all from maybe it overshadowing, or are they even ticked off about that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I can never tell from Fred Hoiberg. You would never tell if he won the lottery or if his house burned down. You talk to him, and are they coming off the greatest win in program history, or are they coming off the worst loss that he's ever had? He is so even-keeled, even-Steven, loses $1, wins $1. He's just whatever about it. I will say that in my conversation with him, I asked him, He's more about this chance at history, this chance at accomplishing something that this program has never done. And I asked him, look, as a guy who covered this program, and even before I covered it, they had some good teams with Danny Nee and the Big Eight. It's hard to believe they'd ever won. What would it mean to you to be the coach that finally did it? And I, of course, neglected to mention that his grandfather was a coach there. Like, there's so much baked into this for Fred that I don't know, if the stadium, if Pinnacle Bank Arena, caught fire, if it would distract him from, hey, I have a chance here to do something here that, this place has meant so much to me, to my family, that this is it. So there's nothing that can distract him. It doesn't. Here's what I'm interested in. What is it like when they get to Memphis and they're asked about this, for all day? The good news is the NCAA only allots 30 minutes, 20 minutes for Q&A with media, so they're not going to have to put up with it too much. And then once the game is over, the game is over, win or lose. And that's why I hope they win so they can actually get clear of this and move on to the next game where the 100% focus is on, can you get to the Sweet 16, can you slay Goliath, rather than can you get revenge on your athletic director.
Matt Schick with us here talking a little Husker basketball, Fred Hoiberg. And we had Matt Rhule meet with the media yesterday as well, and essentially kind of echo what Fred had to say about this place being bigger than an athletic director, something that they were in for the long haul. Do you get the feel that Nebraska has two coaches? I don't want to say they don't care about the athletic director, but it's not factoring into their decision whether they want to stay or go. Do you think that's lip service? Do you think that's real?
I think it's legitimate for Matt. I think you're probably, as a Husker fan, you're probably walking into this and listening with guarded hearts about everything because, Trev was one of us and he left, so Matt's an outsider. Why would he stay? But there is something to Trev might have been why you came, but Nebraska's why you stay. And it's a really special place. I mean, I can attest to that as a guy who went to the University of Colorado. Nebraska, to me, is home. So there's just something about it. And he goes out of his way to feel a part of the community and a part of the state. And he didn't even have that great of a year last year, and he's still pumped up about it. Now, 2 or 3 more years like last year, maybe you're thinking, they might kick him out. But it feels like something that is legitimate, and you get to a certain point in life where your family's happy. You don't mess with happy. And if you leave, what are you chasing? You're chasing a national championship. Only one coach can win that. So it just feels like this is something that Matt wants to stick with. And I said when he was in the hunt for the job that Nebraska fans would love him. They'd feel like they actually finally have a legitimate head coach who knows how to speak and talk to the media and present himself in a professional way. And he's probably surpassed even fans' expectations. It's been great. Now all you got to do is win. And winning will define whether or not he's allowed to stay or whether or not he wants to stay.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Matt Schick's with us, couple minutes, Hail Varsity Radio. The sweet notes that Coach Rhule hit yesterday, calming. Everything's going to be all right, and things need to get fixed, but he's in here for the long haul to get it fixed. And interested to kind of get your read on this changing landscape. We know Clemson and Florida State want to file for divorce with the ACC. All that being said, two things are pretty vital for Nebraska to stay in this adult table versus kids table situation. One is they're the only school in the Big Ten that's not in the AAU. I think their priority candidate for the new presidency tomorrow will be somebody that can make sure they get back in, or at least show the Big Ten, Petiti and company, that they're working on getting back in the AAU. I don't know why they got kicked out. Maybe you know. Secondly, they got to get football to deliver what was promised back when they joined the Big Ten, and Rhule's working on that with each recruiting class and each 3 or 4 deep position group. Matt, are you concerned there could be a day 8-10 years down the road that Nebraska's fallen short and they're exiled, they're relegated?
I think there's always that concern, and I think it's a healthy concern to have in the changing landscape. We are in a place where nothing's guaranteed. We talk about, you want to get in shape. This is the time to get in shape if you're an athletic department, if you're a conference. And what do you do when you get in shape? You get rid of the excess weight and the excess baggage. And the last thing you want to be is excess baggage. You don't want to be someone who's eating the food and not helping grow the crops. Mm-hmm. And, you look at schools like in the SEC, Vanderbilt football, the Big Ten, Rutgers, who seems to be turning a corner. But there are universities and programs that if football's the moneymaker, that's where you have to prove your legitimacy. And it'd be hard-pressed because of the tradition in the program. It'd be hard-pressed to believe there'll come a time where they would be like, hey, you're not in the power structure anymore. You're not in the Power 2. But had they not moved from the Big 10 to the Big 12, you play that butterfly effect game. How precarious are they now? If they had not moved from the Big 12 to the Big 10, I should say, where would they be now? So I think they're fine. I think they're healthy. I think there's too much willpower, financial support, and will to win that I don't think that would happen. But I think it's healthy to be concerned. There is a healthy fear that should drive people to succeed and to do whatever you can to win. Because whenever the next TV window opens or things like that, the fact that Clemson and Florida State are filing lawsuits against the ACC, which seemed to be a lifetime deal and a grant of rights that went 40 years, and now it could be up in 12 months. That, to me, tells you nothing's guaranteed. And so I don't see it happening, but it's good to act like it could.
Schick, basketball, before we let you go, have you filled a bracket out? And what are your favorites for the Schick and Nick drop tournament? Yeah.
Well, let's start with the most important thing. I think Kent Pavelka has a good chance. Kent Pavelka and his drops in the Schick and Nick drop-off tournament, which really is, when you boil it down, which 2-second sound bites are going to be crowned champions. So go to the Schick and Nick show on Twitter and find out. We just posted the bracket. Go to the latest episode. It runs down every audio clip. But Ken Pavelka with Storm That Puppy is a great soundbite. Jake Muehlheisen would love it. From the storming of the Purdue game was great. And then you've got some, really juvenile things that Nick Ball likes to say, which could be in the running as well. In terms of the secondary bracket that is not as important, this NCAA thing, I don't want to be the Jay Wright that goes on TV and says, or the Shannon Sharp today on First Take saying, here are the 4 ones. They're going to the Final Four. Thanks, pal. Appreciate all the insight. I do like Purdue because of their past. I think Marquette without Colip, because I don't know what's firm there. I think Houston is vulnerable. I do think there is an opening for a Kentucky or even a Florida in that South region to make a run. Midwest, I do like Purdue. West region, I'll go out on a limb and take North Carolina, the 1 seed. I don't think anyone's thinking they have a shot. And then in the East region, I'm gonna go on the shaky limb and say I think UConn might have what it takes. I think Creighton as a 3 seed has a legitimate opportunity to make some good noise. I would tell you this. I'd love a Creighton Tennessee Sweet 16 matchup. Would be about as entertaining a game as we get, and I hope we get something like that. But I do enjoy the predictions on the selection shows and go, hey, if chalk holds, we'll get this. Yeah, when's the last time chalk held? And in a year like this, it's not going to. So I'm sure I'm wrong.
According to the Matt Schick bracket, does Nebraska get its first win in the NCAA tournament in their history here on Friday?
Yes. Yes, they do. They do. I know there's a lot of this offensive rebounding. And look at A&M. Nebraska's got some thick dudes. Josiah Alec, give him some double-digit boards, and give me a couple of guys not named Tominaga to step up. Give me Nebraska. They're the better team. Give me the better team at this juncture, and then roll the ball out against Houston and see the first 1 to 60 win.
Well, it could be a Tominaga serenade nationally, Schick, for if he goes on a heater against A&M or shocks Houston, cart before the horse. could be pretty awesome. Matt Schick with us, ESPNU and Schick and Nick podcast, also Sirius XM. Schick, let us know if you get a phone call for the AD opening. All right. I will have my people talk to your people and figure that out. I will put my name in the ring. I'm sure that they're looking for a University of Colorado grad to help run the Nebraska athletic department. Well, it's
you said it yourself.
Open.
Nebraska is still home.
Yeah, you laid it out there. Schick, we appreciate you. Get that cleat dropped off. We thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
There he is, Matt Schick with us, Schick and Nick, ESPNU, Sirius XM, and he had talked to Fred before the news dropped on the contract, but Freddie's getting the bump, getting the love, and right before Friday and a chance to make history. We're going to be out and about Friday. Reminder, we are in Gretna Thursday at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. They have beer. They have pizza. They've got a great menu. They have Bang Bang sauce.
I was going to say, where's the Bang Bang sauce?
The Bang Bang sauce, the Boom Boom shrimp. It is heavenly, and you're going to have basketball on. So roll out, get a spot, watch Nebraska, but for sure check out Creighton. We're there for day one Thursday in Gretna.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Big thanks to Matt Schick. Big thanks to Andy Markowski. Shout out Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Check out the new Average Joe Sports Show podcast. And as always, find us Spotify, iTunes, Google Play with your Hurrdat Sports family of shows, all sorts of good stuff. Great stuff from Damon and Ravi this morning as they were able to get you locked in. Fraternity time, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Subscribe and like. Hail Varsity Radio Twitter at HVarsity Radio. KFOR Facebook and Twitter. AM 590. ESPN Omaha can watch the show on 590's Twitter handle. Cardi Hastings, Grand Island, 1460, 1550. And then News Talk 900, part of the Hail Varsity Radio Network. Get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries only if properly worn. Make it click. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Tomorrow, Mike Babcock will check in with Babbers. We'll say hi to Evan Bland, and lots going on. So you have Proctor, the news. Junior even texted me. The kid doesn't say 2 words, or he may grunt, my teenager. Where's Proctor going? I think going back to Alabama. Isn't that the word?
That's the word on the street. And we also have Josh Pate, who does his great show, The Late Kick, saying this isn't even the top 3 craziest portal news that he has been rumored to have coming in the works here, either right before spring football or right after spring fall. But yeah, Caden Proctor into the portal, and it sounds like he's headed back to Alabama, which is a huge blow for Iowa.
That's nice for Bama. And you, Grandpa, love you. Check it in. And you, Grandpa, he's in Chattanooga, so he is going to be in Memphis on Friday. We will do roll call with all of Husker Nation that is going to be in Memphis on Friday. We will lead you up into tip-off with Nebraska and the Fighting Aggies of A&M. Lots of commentary here on the thought on Dan Hurley and whether or not
good discussion going.
Yeah, it was, and they hate the guy. They side with me. He hates a strong word.
They do all.
But they're asking him to be the adult in the room, and while he may make great TV, or is he actually going to go into the crowd? No. But TR checks in. We're trying to get caught up. We've been interview heavy. We'll be more open tomorrow. Agreed, Dan Hurley's out of line. Coaches are supposed to be role models like Hoiberg is. Insanity shouldn't be empowered. Character matters in all areas of life. Thank you, TR.
I'm not empowering his insanity. I'm just saying I like the way he coaches, and he can be entertaining.
And let's note, some players do need a coach that is a little bit psycho.
Oh, completely.
Such as Cam Spencer.
But you don't take the crazy out into the crowd.
See, that I can get behind.
But don't you think? I mean, do you expect him to snap before his career's done? I mean, is it going to be Clemson 78 Gator Ball all over again, where Dan Hurley dives in headfirst to a student section and starts headbutting unmercifully?
I just feel like we're coming from a place that's a little high and muddy, considering I think as I look around the room, all three of us think it was wrong to fire Bo Pelini.
Sure.
Like, very similar style
Bo
of
never
coaching.
MF'd any student section. Maybe his
no,
own,
he
opposing.
He just did the entire Husker fan base, the whole Fairweather fan.
Did you leave early against Ohio State?
I did not. I stuck through it. My dad wanted to leave, and I convinced him to stay.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Good work. Don't leave early. Don't drive angry. Back at 4 tomorrow. Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.